Yes. We're live and we're going to give it a minute or two here for folks to join before I introduce our two speakers, uh, two people I'm very, very excited to have here today to chat with and to share with all of you who are here. Um, and I will shortly announce them. Thank you so much for joining. For the folks that are joining from the audience. Again, very excited to have you here and to have this conversation with our guests. Um, okay, yeah, just going to give it a minute or two here.
Dun, 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 dun. Yeah, I like the sound effects. That's great. I wish I could open my window and everyone could hear the roar of the Knicks parade is going on right now. The New York Knicks.
Oh my gosh,
NBA
what timing?
parade.
What timing? Is it literally
But
going on right now?
yes, but I'm very far from it. We're near the UN. If people can picture Manhattan, we're
Yeah.
near the UN. This is all the way down near Wall Street and the southern tip
Oh,
of the
wow.
island. So it's called Canyon of Heroes, and that's where they always have their parades. Everything from astronauts to royalty to sports parades take place there.
Yeah,
Oh,
and
that's
we
exciting.
obviously cannot hear it in the background. Um,
Yeah.
but but good. So we'll get started because I see people are rolling in, and again, I thank you for joining. If you're joining onto this live, I'm very very excited to have our two guests today. Again, as I said, and to share them with you who are attending. So we have Lynn Broderick here today. Actually, a number of you probably know Lynn. She's very active on Substack as a writer. She's a mom, she's a writer. She has made the ultimate sacrifice, which thank you, Lynn, for doing that. And it's something that I hope maybe we can explore a little bit today. And she is now a memoirist, and we also have Sri Srinivasan. Thank you so much, Sri, for joining. You have really been a role model in reinventing phase two and the next phase multiple times over. So that will be exciting to talk about. So Sri is the co-host of the Nobel Peace Conference in Norway, and he's also happens to be the former dean of the School of Journalism at Columbia University, and he's done a number of other incredible, amazing things too. And I should mention both Lynn and Sri are empty nesters as well. And so there's all kinds of aspects of this idea of the second phase that we can chat about. But so this will be a very short Substack. People are busy and want to make sure we get all of your wisdom out for all of us. What I really wanted to sort of start with chatting with both of you is I wanted to understand your experience of how you think about the second phase of life. I didn't want to define it for you. I'd love to hear your definition. How are you defining it for yourself? Especially because there's so much wisdom that always comes before us that we borrow from other people that we learn from. But I'd love to hear how you're thinking about it. And maybe why don't we start with Lynn and then Sri, and then we'll reverse the order for the questions.
Sure. Yes. Thank you very much. I'm just excited to be here, and I appreciate the invite. I have not gleaned. I did not glean any wisdom from anyone about this phase of life, which has multiple chapters. I'm in kind of in the midst of. I posted it this morning. Kind of like the blank page of the next chapter. I'm stuck on it. I did not know that this phase would be as challenging as it is, with the empty nest and witnessing my parents aging and then dying in the last year. And I also haven't worked for a while, so I tend to uh, I'm just trying to kind of rebuild community in my life and purpose. And so I'm kind of in this little limbo period, if you will. But I know what I need to do, and that is what I'm working on. I know I've been going to yoga and things like that, going to join a biking group, but I'm having trouble getting out of my own way. I do have wisdom to offer and what not to do. And I could have been a little bit more prepared, but instead, this kind of hit me a little bit flat footed. I did not expect all this death and dying to be happening right now, and missing my son who's in the Navy, and I haven't actually seen him for 6 months, but I will be seeing him on Sunday. So that's a beautiful thing. So I think that maybe I'll be inspired by our conversation, but I think I do also have some wisdom to offer, given the fact that I think when you're struggling, you can kind of help others to get through it as well, so you don't
Yeah,
feel
and
alone.
well, and oftentimes, knowing what not to do is actually more powerful, uh, as we're trying to figure out what to do.
Right,
So
definitely.
yeah, no, thank you, Sri.
Well, first of all, thank you for having me, and so interesting to hear from Lynn. And thank you to your son for his service, and to you for encouraging and supporting him as he takes on this very important role that Americans have to play. Some Americans have to
Yeah.
play in order to all of us to be safe. My daughter works for the largest anti-ICE organization in
Oh,
the
wow.
country, and she was protesting ICE, and these ICE officers hit her with a baton on her arm and on her
Oh
leg.
my goodness.
And I got to thinking
Wow.
that, this is so dangerous. The grandparents in India are super worried. But
Hmm.
I thought that if we believe this is the most important crisis that we are going through as a country right now, then it would be wrong for me to say somebody else's daughter should be on the front
Yeah.
lines. And just the way, I mean, the comparison is not the same. So just being clear about that. But we as parents, first of all, have no control over our kids anyway, but
I
at
know. Wish
least
we did.
that's how we make peace. That's how we make peace with it. But so thank you for your
Right.
son's service. In my
Oh,
case, you
thank
can
you.
see behind me the two sets of parents, my parents and my wife's parents, and both the moms have died in the last 3 years.
Mm,
And the loss and sorrow has been tremendous. I think of my mom, I feel her every day, and I want to keep sending her this photo. I think, oh, she's going to love this movie. And just getting past that is so,
yeah.
so difficult. But then you also say you don't have to get past it. And maybe you can just take it in and it becomes who you are. And I heard this wonderful line that those who are loved are never truly gone. And that's how I feel
Hmm.
about both of them. And that's
Yeah.
important. The other part of my resilience story that people know is that after I was you said some very kind things to me, Ali, thank you. I worked as the chief digital officer of Columbia University. And before I was the chief digital officer of the city of New York. In between, I was the chief digital officer of the Metropolitan Museum. And I loved my job. I loved every minute at work. But one day I came in and I lost my job because they were reorganizing, running out of money. And it was the worst experience of my life. And I went online and said, I've lost my job. Tell me what to do next. I gave people a Google form to fill in. And
I
more than
remember that.
1,300 people around the world filled in this form with good
Oh,
ideas,
wow.
wonderful ideas, and then terrible, awful ideas. But at the worst moment of my life, I got a global digital hug. And for that, I'm always grateful. And the lesson I learned from that is that people want to help, they just don't know how to help. And so
Hmm.
you have to ask and you have to be clear what help you need. And I tell people that when most folks lose their job on a scale of 1 to 10, do they do a 2? I did a 20. So nobody should do a 20 and nobody should do a 2. Everyone should do a 4 to 6, meaning tell friends they want to help you. They know people who can help you. Even if they know nothing about your field, they have a cousin's friend's cousin who can help you. And so you've got to speak up when it's appropriate and depending on how comfortable you are. That's one of the many things I learned in this process.
I love that what both of you have said. So, Lynn, you basically have said that sometimes when you are grieving or questioning or confused, giving to others and being there for others can be part of the process of getting through it. And Sri, you're saying, basically asking for help. Don't be afraid to ask. Um, I mean, that takes a lot of courage, and Lynn, that's very generous, to be giving through your grief. So that's actually a great segue into something else I really wanted to sort of talk to you both about, which is you have both made these incredible sacrifices, either privately or publicly at different points in time. Lynn, in your case, your entire family has made a sacrifice when your son decided to join the Navy. Again, thank you for that. And there's so many families that do that. And Sri, in your case, of course, you've also been a public servant. Um, so, what are the things that you have both learned through that ultimate sacrifices that sort of informs what you do now in this second phase, whether it's empty nesting or a second phase of work or otherwise? I guess Sri, let's start with you
Mm,
first.
well, what I've tried to do is to see if I can help people. That's sort of been my mission, to help people understand technology. And now with everything happening with AI, I'm doing these AI workshops. I've got a 3-hour workshop later this morning. And everything is that technology is just so prevalent and overwhelming, that how do we survive that, right? And especially this moment of AI is fraught with problems. And I try to think about how we can be ready, because there's going to be a deluge of problems that are already here and are going to come and overwhelm society. Tens of millions of people are going to lose their jobs. And I know my one job that I lost, how devastating it was. I cannot imagine what's about to come. And no one's talking about it. There's not, the politicians aren't talking about it, nonprofits, business leaders, celebrities, no one's talking about this. And so we need as much resilience help as possible, because we're all going to experience something we could never have expected.
Yeah, it's kind of funny because I go back and forth between the East Coast and the West Coast, and on the West Coast, everybody's talking about it actually, including religious institutions. And surprisingly, in a good way, there's actually a lot of positive partnerships between spiritual institutions and Silicon Valley, actually. And they've been in dialogue. So something I think a lot of people don't realize is that a number of spiritual institutions have been in dialogue with Silicon Valley for more than a decade, actually, but it was behind closed doors. And so there has been a cognizance of the ethics of humanity and being mindful of what is coming next to the extent possible. There have been these ongoing dialogues, but as you mentioned, it's a very complicated topic, and every uh, sort of technological change that we have, be it the Industrial Revolution or what's going on now, it always brings change. It's not always necessarily job loss. Oftentimes, it's job loss masking job transition, and then people are not prepared for those transitions. There's all kinds of ways to approach it, and that would be almost like a different discussion in and of itself. But thank you for bringing that up, and for what you're doing to help people prepare. It's definitely not clear what will happen, and it may take a while for a number of the job losses to actually occur, or maybe they won't occur at all. We don't really know. But again, thank you for what you're doing. And Lynn, what about yourself
Yeah,
regarding
well,
these sacrifices and what you've learned?
I can't deny that it has been a little bit rough. I am a worrier. I'm a worrier warrior, as I like to call it, with a son in the Navy. Especially in these times, it's a little bit scary. So I do a lot of reading of other people's stories that are really inspiring me and making me feel less alone. That's one reason I love the Substack community. And writing has been helpful, journaling, and writing here on Substack, my different experiences and in life and with grief. sometimes my stuff is funny, sometimes it's not so much funny, but mostly there you will find a thread of humor in it. But what I'm trying to do is give back in other ways that make me feel like I have more of a purpose in my life, because I can't deny I've been struggling recently. My mom just died in April, but I did start working with Big Brothers Big Sisters. I'm a Big Sister mentor, which I absolutely love. I have this sweet 10-year-old girl that that is my little sister. I'm also looking into Blue Star Families. I just kind of signed up for their newsletter and to find out how to get more involved with that. That's a group of military families that get together and support each other. They have groups all over the country, and so they get together. I don't know if it's once a month or what it is. I'm waiting to find out, and also looking at volunteering occasionally for the USO, just to feel like, because we don't have control over things in life. I don't have control over my son's safety. So maybe if I give back, I'm hoping that at least makes me feel like I'm able to do something that could help other people. And I also ask myself daily, which I'm not that good at lately, but just to say or ask myself, what's the one thing, if I do it today, that I'll feel good about my day? Um, and that is it's not always easy. I'm having trouble getting out of my own way, which is why I'm not on video today, because I'm a bit disheveled from writing. The recent thing actually opened up some grief in me that I didn't expect, and so I had to go to yoga this morning. So my apologies for not being visible today, but no, I'm here in voice.
That is definitely something I have heard from many, many others, that an important and helpful way to get through those periods of confusion or pain is to find ways to volunteer or give back or do things where you deflect the attention off of yourself and rechannel your energy into helping others. And I have found, even for myself, that some things like that are very helpful. Well, I promise to keep this short, and I see that we're hitting our time. So I sort of wanted to just end with this last question to both of you, which is, um, as you look through your past experiences and the transition you're going through now, and what you're hoping to do moving forward. I had mentioned, that maybe the right question to ask is not what to do next, but what to do now. What is the lesson or key takeaway, or, what are the things you want to share with those who are here and those who may see the video afterwards that you hope, they will take away or could be helpful as we wrap up. And yeah, let's start with Lynn first.
I think that one important thing is to have patience and give yourself some grace. Sometimes we're our own worst enemies, and I know for myself, I'm not patient. I was feeling great for a while there, and I wrote that post, and then I fell apart. So, and then now I'm mad. Like, I just want to be done with this whole grief thing, and I want to move on with my life and do, feel like normal again. So that is one thing I think is a good takeaway. Just be kind to yourself. Give yourself grace.
That is very powerful, actually. I think we all forget that sometimes. Thank you for that,
Hmm.
Sri.
Yeah, thank you, and that's great reminder. I would say another way to think about this is I had a bike, not accident, bike incident a couple of days ago. I just have a bruise here on my hand. It's nothing. It's absolute nothing, and it was a wake up call to me to say I got to slow down, really
Mm.
think about what I'm doing, how many things I'm going to rush to, and then what I'm going to say no thanks, or like you did, say I'm going to turn the camera off. But you know what? People don't, because nothing happened to me. Nobody has given me, when I tell them like I almost died because a truck could have hit me very easily. But people don't believe you unless something happened. If I'd broken my foot, they'd be like, "Oh, at least you didn't, you know, hit your head or whatever." So you have to teach people that they need to give you that grace because they won't give it to you automatically. And so that's something
Right.
that we have to be willing to speak up and push back onto people if they don't give it to us naturally.
Do you
Thank
mind
you.
if I just throw this one quick tidbit
Of
in here?
course. Please do.
Speaking of
Please
bikes,
do.
I actually I ran over a bird on my bike the other day.
Oh,
And somehow, and I would cry to, I would have like fallen over and cried my eyes out for hours, any normal day. But I think my emotions were all stuck. But somehow this bird flew right in front of my tire and I ran it over. And I'm like, why am I not crying? Well, I've been crying lately. But anyway, it was just kind of like I killed a bird. I felt so terrible. Um, but yeah, slowing down. I don't know how I didn't miss that thing. Anyway.
Well, yeah, thank you both. I just appreciate sort of you both sharing from your each of your very unique experiences, and that's what I love about not just our various communities, but even here on Substack. There's so much diversity of thought and deep thought, and I love that we can sort of share and learn from that. And I really appreciate both of your time being here. Thank you for sharing your words of wisdom, Sri and Lynn. Um, and for anyone who happens to be listening in live today or looking at the video in the future, I just also wanted to mention I have a conversation coming up with Arik on June 28th. I think a number of people know who he is. And then one coming up July 23rd with Yari Rumor. I think a lot of people probably
Oh
know
yeah.
who he is as well. So I look forward to that. And thank you again to Lynn and Sri for being here today. And thank you to the audience. Thank you for tuning in. And I do hope you found this helpful. Please feel free to reach out to me or DM me or, respond to notes or posts. And I'm happy to engage. Thank you.
Thank you.